You've heard it 100 times. The story of the 10 virgins. 5 were prepared, 5 were not. It feels familiar, almost too familiar. But here's what almost no one ever stops to ask. Why virgins? Not servants, not random guests. Why did Jesus deliberately choose these young women as covenant witnesses for this parable? What was he trying to awaken in us? And why did the wise ones make a choice the foolish ones never even considered? Because hidden inside that single choice lies something the wise carried in their bones, something the foolish completely lost along the way. And that one forgotten reality has the power to change everything about how we live our faith today. You may have read this passage 100 times, sitting in quiet mornings or crowded churches, but the real distinction sits right there in the Greek words chosen so carefully, and deeper still in the ancient Hebrew heartbeat that pulses through every line of Scripture. Everyone focuses on the oil, the outward preparation, the checklist. But that's only the surface. That's only what our eyes can see. What did the 5 wise virgins truly understand about why they existed in that moment? What did their hearts know that their hands acted upon? The 5 foolish took their lamps but brought no extra oil with them. They showed up looking the part. They dressed beautifully for the celebration. They walked to the right place at the right time. By every outward measure, they did exactly what any excited guest would do. But the 5 wise understood something far more profound. Their lamps weren't mere decoration for a party. Their role was to testify, to stand as living witnesses. They could not, would not show up empty-handed or empty-hearted. In the rich traditions of ancient Jewish weddings, these virgins served as covenant witnesses. Their steadily burning lamps became the visible proof that a sacred covenant was being sealed in that very hour. The warm glow declared into the darkness, "This is real. This is binding. This moment carries eternal weight." The 5 wise never lost sight of that holy purpose. They came fully prepared because they carried an inner understanding of what they had been invited to testify to. It wasn't duty, it was identity. Everyone focuses on the oil. Almost nobody pauses to ask, why did the wise ones never forget their true function while the foolish ones slowly let it slip away? The answer is not primarily in what they did with their hands, but in what they knew with their hearts. The Greek calls them phronimoi, the prudent ones, those who grasp the true nature and weight of the moment. Beneath that lies the Hebrew idea of da'at. Not cold information or facts, but a deep, living knowing that reshapes your choices, your priorities, your very way of being in the world. They carried adut, testimony, the visible, undeniable evidence that the covenant was alive and active. Just like the Ark of the Covenant was known as Aron HaEdut, the Ark of the Testimony, their lives became walking proof. The wise understood this truth in their core. Your lamp is not decoration. You are here as living proof that this covenant is real, breathing, and worth everything. Picture that night with me. A vast, dark desert road stretching under a star-filled sky. 10 lamps flickering bravely against the shadows. The bridegroom is on his way, but the hour remains a mystery. The minutes stretch into hours. The night air turns chilly. A cool wind moves through the ancient olive trees, carrying the scent of distant flowers. The ground feels hard beneath their feet. Some flames begin to dance lower, weaker, fighting for life. The 5 foolish had the outward form, But when the unexpected delay tested them, they discovered they had nothing left to sustain the light. Their excitement faded into panic. The wise, however, lived by shamar, that powerful call to watch, to guard, to keep with tender yet fierce vigilance. This word echoes throughout Scripture. Adam was placed in the garden to shamar it, to protect and nurture what God had entrusted. Israel was repeatedly urged to shamar God's words deep in their hearts, not as ritual, but as breathing life. The wise practiced this shamar. They stood as faithful watchers over the covenant moment. They carried extra oil because they understood the night might be longer than expected, and their role demanded that the light keep burning brightly. The foolish had quietly forgotten what it truly means to stand watch. They assumed showing up in the beginning would be sufficient for the whole journey. Matthew 25:1-4 tells us, "Then the kingdom of heaven shall be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish took their lamps, but took no oil with them. But the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps." Now consider the lamp itself. The Hebrew word is ner. In Psalm 132, God makes a promise. He will prepare a lamp for His anointed, a light that keeps the covenant promise alive across generations. The ner has always been more than illumination. It searches the hidden chambers of the human heart. It reveals what is true, even when darkness tries to hide everything. The wise carried this understanding in their souls. Their ner was covenant light. It announced to the waiting world that the bridegroom's arrival was genuine, binding, and powerfully witnessed. It declared that this ordinary night had become a sacred threshold. The foolish saw only the surface, just another lamp to hold. On the surface, the story seems simple. 5 forgot extra oil, 5 remembered. But beneath that lies a far richer truth. The wise lived with that complete inner knowing. They testified with their lives. They kept faithful watch. They held burning covenant light through uncertainty. The foolish gradually lost that living connection, and that loss of knowing left them unable to fulfill the very purpose for which they had come. This parable sits at the beating heart of everything Scripture teaches us about covenant relationship with God. From the very first garden where humanity first failed to guard what was entrusted, through the thunder of Sinai where a nation slowly began to drift, all the way to the quiet moments of your own ordinary days. The most dangerous kind of forgetting is rarely loud rebellion or angry rejection. It is the slow, almost invisible drift. You continue showing up. You sing the familiar songs with feeling. You offer sincere prayers. You maintain the beautiful outward form of faith. But somewhere during the long season of waiting, the deeper function quietly fades. You still carry the lamp, yet you begin to forget the holy reason it was placed in your hands in the first place. The wise ones refused to let that happen. They didn't merely attend the event. They understood why their presence mattered. They protected that understanding with daily vigilance, even when the night felt endless and hope grew thin. The question was never only whether your lamp would still be burning when the moment finally arrived. The deeper, more honest question is this: do you still remember, truly remember, why you were given that light to carry? The scariest part of the story isn't the sound of a heavy door shutting. It's the haunting image of some standing just outside it in the darkness, still convinced in their hearts that they belonged inside. They had come on time. They had waited alongside everyone else. But somewhere in the waiting, they had quietly stopped being active witnesses and had settled for simply being attendees. That quiet drift is exactly what this parable warns every generation against. Not some explosive moral failure, but the subtle, deadly erosion of understanding. Watch, therefore. Practice shamar. Guard the knowing you once carried so carefully. Keep your testimony vibrant and alive. Hold your light steady and burning. For you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man comes. Because the door doesn't close when the bridegroom arrives. It closes when the understanding has already slipped away, when the light you were given no longer has anything left to declare. Or will he find you still standing there in the crowd, looking the part, yet already empty inside? Matthew 25:13.